The world doesn't rise for titles. It rises for thinkers. Not just people with ambition, but people with economic philosophy. People who don't just earn income, they command economies. People who think like leaders, move like creators, and build like architects of destiny. This is not about managing money. This is about commanding it. This is not about saving. This is about structuring a life that produces wealth on autopilot, not by chance, but by design. Because the true economy doesn't start in the stock market. It starts in your mind. If your thoughts are poor, your results will be bankrupt. If your vision is small, your influence will collapse. If your identity is weak, your wealth will leak. An economic leader doesn't ask, how do I make money? They ask, how do I become the kind of person who creates value at scale, consistently, with precision? It starts with mindset, but not the watered-down version they put on posters. The mindset of an economic leader is ruthless, deliberate, strategic. They don't waste thought on what doesn't matter. They don't drown in opinion. They live in principle. They think in systems, not emotions. In assets, not hours. In impact, not applause. They don't chase shiny. They build solid because they know economic power is not about what you earn. It's about what you own, what you control, what grows while you sleep. So the first shift is this. You must stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like a wealth architect. A worker asks, what do I get paid to do? A leader asks, how can I multiply value through systems that scale? That means you stop trading time. You start building assets. Your knowledge becomes a product. Your skills become leverage. Your wisdom becomes a machine. Because an economic leader doesn't just work for money. They make money work for them. They understand that every dollar is a soldier, and every soldier must be assigned a mission, not just to pay bills, to build freedom. That means clarity, clarity of mission, clarity of target, clarity of leverage. If you don't know what your wealth is for, you'll waste it chasing the approval of people who don't even respect themselves. So you need vision, not for luxury, for liberation. Economic leadership is about owning your life so deeply that no politician, no economy, no client, no company can shake your foundation. It's about building from within, creating value on demand, thinking 5 moves ahead while others are still reacting to the last one. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's silent dominance. The discipline to delay gratification. The wisdom to reinvest. The humility to learn. The obsession to build. You want to rise? Then study how the wealthy think. Not what they wear. Not what they drive. What they believe. They believe in compound growth. They believe in scaling value. They believe in partnerships, not dependencies. They believe in being so good at solving problems that the world has no choice but to send money in return. And more than anything, they believe in this. I am the economy. I am the brand. I am the value. I am the source, not the seeker. And when you get that deep enough in your soul, wealth stops being a chase. It becomes your shadow. Then let's go deeper into the layers of thought most people never touch, because this is where money stops being a goal and becomes a reflection of the mind that created it, a mirror of the discipline behind it, a consequence of the person you've become. The economic leader doesn't get rich by mistake. They engineer their prosperity. They don't stumble into success. They strategize their expansion. And at the core of that strategy is one thing: vision, not vague dreams, not I want to be successful, but crystal cut vision so detailed, it feels like memory. They see it. They feel it. They build from it. Every decision filtered through one question. Does this align with where I'm going? And if it doesn't, it's gone. No matter how easy, tempting, or profitable it looks, Because the economic leader is not seduced by short-term dopamine. They're driven by long-term dominion. They understand the power of focus, the strength of staying in their lane, because they know every yes costs something. Every distraction is a debt. And clarity is compound leverage. So they protect it fiercely. And from that clarity, they move into discipline. Because clarity without consistency is a fantasy. And the economic leader doesn't live in fantasy. They live in formulas. They don't just grind. They build systems of discipline, daily non-negotiables, rituals of focus, boundaries of protection. They don't rise based on mood. They rise based on mission, because they know how you do the small things is how you do everything. The way you structure your day, that's how you build your empire. You show me someone's morning, and I'll show you their financial future. Discipline is not suffering. It's sovereignty. It's saying no now, so you never have to say please later. And from discipline comes the most powerful force of all, ownership. An economic leader owns everything, every result, every loss, every delay, every win. No blaming, no waiting, no outsourcing responsibility. Because when you own it all, you can change it all. They stop saying the market is tough. They start saying, how can I adapt faster? They stop saying, no one's helping me. They start saying, how can I become so valuable they can't ignore me? That mindset, that relentless internal accountability is what transforms average income into generational wealth. It's not about looking rich. It's about building a life that funds freedom. And freedom isn't just financial. It's mental. Freedom to think without fear, to move without begging, to choose what to create, where to go, and who you get to become. That is what economic leadership is really about. Not the money. The mastery then lets ascend to the summit where true wealth breathes. Because this is the level most never reach. Not because they can't, but because they're not willing to think this deep, this clear, this responsibly. The final layer of an economic leader's mind is leverage. Not just financial leverage, life leverage. Because they understand wealth isn't built by doing more. It's built by multiplying your impact, doing the right things, through the right systems, with the right people at scale. They know how to step back and ask, what am I doing that someone else could do? What system could do this instead of me? How can I use technology, people, and capital to expand what only I can create? You see, the average person spends their whole life trying to be busy. The economic leader, they try to become replaceable. Because only when you remove your time from the equation can you start building true freedom. They build teams. They automate value. They create frameworks that operate without their constant involvement. Because wealth is not about being the hardest worker in the room. It's about building a machine that runs, even when you sleep. They stop asking, how much does it cost? They start asking, what is the return on this decision in the next 10 years? And they build with that scale in mind. Not fast, but forever. And this brings us to the heart of it all. Value. You want to build real wealth? Then stop chasing money. Start becoming the kind of person the world rewards. A problem solver. A gap closer. A value creator. Because money follows value. Always. No exception. No shortcut. And value doesn't mean talent. It means relevance. It means solving real problems for real people with real solutions. The economic leader isn't loud. They're lethal. Not because they scream louder, but because they serve deeper. And when you stack enough value, enough solutions, enough consistency and character, wealth becomes not something you make, It becomes something you attract, not by accident, but by alignment. And now we reach the final note. The one truth that pulses behind every powerful thinker, every wealthy soul, every economic leader. You are the asset. You are the brand. You are the machine. You are the generator of opportunity, of cash flow, of change. And your greatest return will never come from what you invest in the market. It will come from what you invest in yourself. So study more, think sharper, move cleaner, decide quicker, protect your time like a hawk, protect your energy like a vault, and lead your life like a living enterprise. Because when you think like a leader, the world responds like you're one. You are not chasing wealth. You are becoming it. So rise, move like you were born to build empires. Speak like your voice funds futures. Think like every idea is a seed for a generation you'll never meet. Because this is not just about income. It's about influence. It's about immortality through impact. You're not just here to survive. You're here to lead the economy of your life. And in doing so, you unlock a legacy no market could ever measure. There are two kinds of people in this world. Those who are owned by time and those who own it. Those who wake up every morning like prisoners, chained to the ticking clock, always behind, always rushing, always reacting. And then there are the few, the rare few who bend time like steel in their hands, who make time serve them, who don't chase the hours they command them. And here's the raw truth. You are either mastering time or being manipulated by it. Time is not just slipping by. It's being spent. And whether you know it or not, you are trading your life for something every single second. Some trade it for distractions, some for comfort, some for validation. But the ones who rise, the ones who build, they trade time for transformation. They understand this. Time is the most ruthless currency in existence. You can lose money and make it back. You can lose status and reclaim it. But lose time, it's gone forever. Every day, the clock resets. 24 hours, 440 minutes, 86, 400 seconds. And each one is either wasted or invested. The difference between mediocrity and mastery is how you use that invisible fortune. Because time will not wait for your motivation. It doesn't care about your excuses. It doesn't pause when you're tired. It doesn't rewind when you're ready. It moves, whether you move or not. So the question is, are you building your life, or are you just passing time in it? The truth is, time is not your enemy. Time is not the villain. It is the mirror. It reflects your values. It exposes your priorities. It shows you in brutal honesty what matters to you most. You say you value growth, but your time says you value distraction. You say you want success, but your calendar says you crave comfort. You say you have goals, but your habits whisper that you're lying. Look closely, because how you spend your time reveals who you really are. But here's the power. That mirror, it can be rewritten, not with wishes, not with affirmations, with command. Command over your focus, command over your schedule, command over your boundaries. This is how you take back your life. Because once you understand how to control time, you don't just get more done. You become more clear, more intentional, more dangerous. The world runs on average. You must run on alignment. Average people fill their time with activity. Extraordinary people fill it with impact. 1 hour of focused, intentional action will destroy 10 hours of scattered effort. 1 minute of clarity will eclipse a day of confusion. One decision to own your time will change the trajectory of your life. Then let's go deeper, because this is not about time management. This is about life mastery. This is about becoming the kind of person who walks through every hour like it belongs to them, because it does. Time does not belong to the clock. It belongs to the committed. Let's make something clear right now. You do not have a time problem. You have a priority problem. Because the truth is, you are already doing exactly what matters most to you. You say you have no time to build your dream, but you find time to scroll. You say you're too busy to get healthy, but you binge another series. You say you want discipline, but your routine is still run by your mood. So no, you don't need more time. You need more truth. You need to stop lying to yourself about what you value and start living like your time is sacred. Because when you believe your time is sacred, you stop letting other people waste it. You stop letting old versions of you steal it. You stop letting fear schedule your future. And in that moment, time bends. It doesn't get longer. You get stronger. You get sharper. You get so aligned with your mission that every second has a soul. This is how high performers move. With intent, with direction, with dominance over their day. They wake up and they decide. Before the world shouts, they command. Before the distractions arrive, they're already moving. And that is what separates the elite from the exhausted. Here's what they know. If you don't design your day will design you. And it will always design you small. So guard your mornings like gold. Guard your calendar like a throne. Say no like your legacy depends on it, because it does. Every time you say yes to nonsense, you say no to your next level. Stop trying to fit your purpose into a busy life. Build a life that serves your purpose. Start treating time like your highest currency. Because it is. Want to get rich? Value time more than money. Want to feel peace? Buy back your hours from chaos. Want to lead? Master your rhythm, not in hustle and harmony. Control your time, and you will control your destiny. Time is not just passing. It is watching. It's watching what you tolerate. It's watching what you build. It's watching what you do with the minutes that millions would trade everything to get back. Time is your most loyal mirror and your most brutal judge. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care where you started. It doesn't care what happened yesterday. It only asks one thing every day without fail. What will you do with me today? And how you answer, that becomes your legacy. So stop letting time slip through your fingers like sand. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop delaying your dream in the name of someday. Someday is a myth. Later is a lie. Eventually is where purpose goes to die. The most powerful moment of your life is not tomorrow. It's now. Now is the only time you can choose. The only time you can change. The only time that's real. Right now you can shift the trajectory. Right now you can reclaim your voice, your vision, your value. Right now you can become the one who no longer chases time, but commands it. Because time is not your master. Time is your mirror. And when you look into it with clarity, with fire, with conviction, you no longer just move through time. Time moves through you. You bend it. You mold it. You walk through it like a king through his kingdom. Not rushed, not reactive, but ready. So decide. Not later. Not when it's easy. Now, from this moment forward, you don't live by the clock. You live by calling. You don't chase time. You command it. And with that decision, you will never be the same again. Let it begin. There comes a moment when every ambitious soul wakes up and realizes it's no longer enough to survive. Survival is for the uncertain, for the indifferent, for the passive. But you were never built to coast. You were never designed to drift through days with a muted heart and an uninspired mind. No. You are a leader not by title, but by temperament. Not by role, but by responsibility. And if you're awake enough to hear these words, you know. You feel it deep in your bones, the call to rise, to sharpen, to lead not just others, but first yourself. Because all leadership begins within. No crown, no position, no applause will ever compensate for a person who cannot command their own mind, their own days, their own destiny. You don't get to lead anyone else until you can lead your own energy out of mediocrity. And that is where the first transformation begins. Plan 1. Master your internal world or become a slave to your external one. The battlefield of the ambitious is not the market, the economy, or the competition. It is the space between their ears. The most dangerous war is the quiet one. You wage against your own limitations, your own excuses, your own doubt that whispers, maybe I'm not ready. But a true leader doesn't wait to feel ready. They decide to be ready. They command their thoughts like a general commands an army. Every day, before the world even sees you, you must win in the dark. Win when the alarm goes off. Win when your body says no and your purpose says go. Win when your mind starts negotiating with weakness and you answer back with clarity, discipline, and authority. You were never meant to follow the mood of the day. You were meant to set it. Which brings us to the next plan. Lead with clarity or be led by chaos. An unclear leader is a dangerous one. Not because they're evil, but because they drift. And when leaders drift, people drown. Businesses stall. Families suffer. Futures are delayed. Clarity is the compass. And too many ambitious people are busy without direction, building without vision, exhausting themselves for goals they never defined. You don't get points for movement. You get results for alignment. So stop. Ask yourself, what am I building? Why does it matter? Who must I become to deserve it? Write it, speak it, burn it into your mind. Because once clarity exists, everything else begins to arrange itself around it. Decisions become obvious. Distractions lose their power. And your life stops feeling like noise and starts feeling like a mission. Now, with mission in place, it's time to activate Plan 3. Upgrade your standards or get buried under your circumstances. Too many leaders suffer in silence because they try to fix results without fixing the root, and the root is always standards. You get what you tolerate. In health, in business, in relationships, in your own habits. The truth? You don't rise to your potential, you fall to your standards. And if your standards are built on emotion, on convenience, on the comfort of fitting in, you will fail silently and call it balance. You don't need balance. You need alignment. You need conviction. You need a standard so high that it repels everything that doesn't belong in the life you're building. Raise the standard. Raise it so high it offends the part of you that still wants to play small. Raise it until it scares you, because that's when it's finally aligned with your calling. Then enforce it. Not once, not when it's easy, but daily, until it becomes identity. And once your identity is anchored in power, it's time to activate the 4th plan. Take complete ownership of everything, every win, every loss, every inch of progress. The moment you assign blame is the moment you hand away your influence. Leaders don't play the victim. They don't wait for rescue. They don't outsource responsibility. They look in the mirror and say, if it's to be, it's up to me. You don't control everything, but you control your response to everything. You control how you lead when the storm hits. You control how you speak when emotions rise. You control whether you panic or plan. Blame builds nothing. Ownership builds empires. So stop pointing fingers. Start building foundations. And once that foundation is laid, activate Plan 5. Design your environment for war, not comfort. Because your environment is not neutral. It is either pulling you forward or dragging you down. Every leader has blind spots, traps, saboteurs disguised as friends, excuses hiding in routines. And if your environment is not engineered to align with your future, it will keep pulling you back to your past. Clean the room, change the music, cut the noise, block the apps, fire the energy drainers. Surround yourself with forces that sharpen you, not soothe you into sleep. A lion doesn't grow strong in a petting zoo. It needs the wild, the pressure, the hunt. You are not here to be coddled. You are here to conquer. Now you're ready for plan 6. Move with urgency. Live like your legacy depends on the next decision, because it does. The clock is not your friend. It is your rival. And every second you waste pretending you have time is a second you will beg for when the clock runs out. Leaders don't wait. They initiate. They understand that someday is code for never. They don't need permission. They need a reason. And if your reason is big enough, the resistance will never be strong enough to stop you. Stop sitting on ideas. Stop waiting for signs. Move. Make the call. Start the draft. Launch the product. Send the message. Ask the question. Raise the standard. Cut the dead weight. You are not here to manage time. You are here to maximize it. So rise. Begin. Execute like your life depends on it, because it does. Because the distance between where you are and where you could be is not measured in miles, it's measured in moments. The moments you act versus the moments you delay. The moments you choose courage over comfort. And that brings you to plan 7. Trade comfort for capacity. Every ambitious leader must come to terms with this truth. Comfort is the enemy of growth. The very thing you crave, ease, rest, safety, is the very thing that will kill your edge if you're not vigilant. Capacity, not comfort, is the currency of greatness. And the only way to expand it is to stretch. You stretch through early mornings. You stretch through hard conversations. You stretch by saying no when it's easier to say yes. You stretch by doing one more rep, writing one more line, pushing through one more obstacle, not because you feel like it, but because you're committed to becoming the kind of person who can carry what the future demands. Leadership is not about preserving what you have. It's about preparing for what you're building. And that kind of preparation demands Plan 8. Discipline your attention like your future depends on it, because it does. Focus is the superpower of the modern world. In a sea of distractions, the leader who can sit in stillness, lock in on a task, and execute without splintering their mind wins. Because attention is not just mental, it's spiritual. Where you place your focus is where you place your faith. You become what you consistently look at. So audit your inputs, clean your feed, turn off the noise, close the tabs. Protect your energy like royalty protects a throne, because what sits in your mental kingdom will determine the quality of your empire. And once your focus is sharpened, you activate Plan 9. Design your habits for your identity, not just your goals. Goals are great, but they are outcomes. Habits are identity, the system that keeps you consistent when motivation disappears, when the applause stops, when it's just you, the silence, and the standard you said you'd live by. You don't rise to what you say, you rise to what you repeat. And if your daily systems are built for average, no amount of ambition will save you from eventual mediocrity. So build routines that match the future you. Wake like they wake. Train like they train. Study like they study. Execute like they execute. Show up like your dream self already exists, and one day you'll look up and realize they do. And from identity flows Plan 10. Play long but move fast. Real leaders think in decades, not days. They're not chasing dopamine. They're building dynasties. But don't confuse long-term vision with slow movement. Just because your eyes are on the mountaintop doesn't mean your feet should drag. Move quickly on ideas. Pivot with agility. Execute at the speed of belief, because what you delay, you train your brain to distrust. Speed is not recklessness, it's readiness. It says, I'm not waiting for things to be perfect. I move because I know who I am. And when you move with speed and think with legacy, you step into the space of the elite, the ones who not only build, but outlast, which leads directly to Plan 11. Fortify your resilience before the storm comes. The question isn't if adversity will hit, it's when. And when it does, the leader doesn't panic. They pivot, because they've built their foundation on truth, not trends. On principles, not popularity. You build resilience by confronting small discomforts daily so that when the big ones come, you don't crumble. You've already rehearsed the resistance. You've already stared failure in the face and said, you don't define me. you refine me. Tough times don't build character. They reveal it. And only the disciplined will stand when the winds rise. So you prepare now, not later. You prepare through mindset, through systems, through strong people in your corner who call out the champion in you when you forget it's there. And as resilience hardens your resolve, you ignite Plan 12. Surround yourself only with those who reflect your future, not your past. There is no neutral energy in your circle. Every conversation is either fueling your fire or feeding your fear. Every person is either echoing your purpose or diluting your identity. As a leader, you must protect your circle like a sacred chamber. There is no room for laziness, no space for entitlement, no tolerance for mediocrity masked as support. Because if they're not pushing you, challenging you, elevating you, they're dragging you. Surround yourself with assassins of excuses, architects of vision, builders of belief, people who remind you of who you said you'd be when the fire was fresh. Your circle is either your launch pad or your cage. Choose wisely. And now, with the right people in place, with your fire stoked, your habits locked, and your mindset sharp, you activate Plan 13. Speak like a leader, especially to yourself. Words create worlds. And no one hears your voice more than you. Every sentence you repeat is a command to your subconscious. So stop speaking in uncertainty. Stop hiding behind sarcasm and self-deprecation. That's not humility. It's self-sabotage. Speak power. Speak vision. Speak truth, even when it sounds arrogant to the small-minded. Speak with the authority of someone who has already decided to win. Your voice must become the soundtrack of your transformation. Every morning, every moment, every mirror. And as your voice rises, so too must your heart. Which brings us to Plan 14. Lead with gratitude, not just grind. Grind without gratitude turns to bitterness. Hustle without heart turns to emptiness. But when you root your pursuit in awe, in the sheer privilege of building, creating, serving, you access a deeper power. Gratitude doesn't make you soft. It makes you stronger because it centers you in perspective. It reminds you that you get to lead. You get to face pressure. You get to carry weight. Every obstacle is a gift in disguise. Every delay is a refinement. Every long night is proof you haven't quit. Be grateful not just for what you've gained, but for who you've become in the process. And now, with all the fuel, fire, and force aligned, you arrive at Plan 15. Lead yourself relentlessly so you can lead others effortlessly. Because when all is said and done, leadership is not about control. It's not about applause. It's not about followers. It's about becoming. You lead because you've chosen the harder path, the one where you own your flaws, sharpen your strengths, and carry the weight of vision when others collapse. And the more consistently you lead yourself, the less you need to motivate others. Your life becomes the sermon. Your actions become the message. Your standard becomes the invitation for others to rise. So rise. Become the kind of leader who leads from the inside out. Let your thoughts be intentional. Let your words be weapons of truth. Let your actions make legacy inevitable. Because the world does not need more noise. It needs you, fully alive, fully aligned, fully unleashed. This is how you change your life. This is how you lead. And when you lead like that, not from ego, not from image, but from essence, everything shifts. You don't chase influence, you become it. You don't force respect, you earn it. You don't need to be seen, because the impact of your presence becomes impossible to ignore. This is what ambitious leadership truly is. A quiet rebellion against mediocrity. A daily, deliberate defiance against everything that says, stay small. It is not something you do on stage or in a boardroom. It's what you do in the silence when no one is watching and no one is clapping. It's waking up earlier than your doubt. It's outworking your fear. It's sharpening your soul while others scroll. It's building what they can't see, so one day they stand in awe of what you refuse to quit on. Because ambition without structure is anxiety, and leadership without personal mastery is just noise. But you are not here to echo. You are here to initiate. So now, you lead with legacy in mind. You stop reacting to life and start architecting it. You create space in your calendar for the things that matter. You build systems that protect your peace and multiply your purpose. You stop explaining yourself to people who haven't earned access to your vision. And you rise not just in results, but in resonance. Your presence begins to speak louder than your profile. Your consistency becomes your credibility. And your attitude becomes your authority. This is what the world will see. But the world will never know the sacrifices made in silence, the prices paid in private, the inner battles you won while smiling on the outside. But you'll know, and that's enough. Because real leaders don't need constant praise, they need constant purpose. You are building something far beyond what the eye can see. A legacy, a movement, a ripple that will echo for generations, not just because of what you achieved, but because of who you chose to become. So as you walk back into your day, head high, eyes sharp, energy focused, remember this: you are not waiting for a moment. You are the moment. You are not hoping for a shift. You are the shift. You are not just dreaming of a better future. You are becoming the kind of leader who will build it. And when they ask how you changed your life, you won't give them a list. You'll just smile and live it. Because nothing is louder than a life lived in full alignment. No speech, no strategy, no social media post can rival the quiet power of a human being who embodies what they speak, who owns what they believe, who executes what they once only imagined. That's who you are now. You don't just talk about greatness, you build it. Brick by brick, standard by standard, day by day. While others chase shortcuts, you chase mastery. While others seek comfort, you seek clarity. While others want recognition, you demand responsibility. Because you know deep in your bones that leadership is not about being in front. It's about being solid. It's about being the one who can't be moved when the storm hits, the money dips, the team falters, the world changes. It's about becoming the constant in a world of variables. A pillar of principle, a symbol of consistency, a force of nature that doesn't flinch when tested. That is your new identity, not built in one day, but reinforced, refined, and revealed through every decision made with intentionality. So every time you wake up, remember, you're not just waking to tasks. You're waking to testimony. You're not just building a life. You're building a legacy of example. You're not just a person doing the work. You are the proof that discipline wins, that purpose speaks louder than fear, that ambition, aligned with integrity, can move mountains. Because you were not sent here to replicate, you were sent to resonate. And when your life resonates with truth, with vision, with impact, the world shifts, not because you told it to, but because your presence made it undeniable. So walk boldly, speak clearly, act decisively, forgive quickly, love deeply, move fiercely, and never again ask the world for permission to lead. You already did that when you decided to change your life. And now you're unstoppable. Because the moment you became unstoppable wasn't when they saw you succeed, it was when you refused to surrender in silence. When you picked yourself up, bleeding and bruised, and whispered, "I'm not done." That is the fire they won't understand. That is the edge they cannot imitate. That is the reason you will rise while others stall, because your ambition is not shallow. It is rooted in depth, in pain transformed into power, in vision shaped by fire. You stopped needing applause the day you discovered your assignment. And now, you don't need hype to move. You need only your word. You said you would rise, and you are rising. You said you would lead, and you are leading. You said you would become the kind of person you once only dreamed of, and now you're staring at the blueprint, hammer in hand, building it brick by brick. Let the world call it extreme. Let them call it obsession. Let them call it too much. You call it necessary. Because when you look at your future, the one you are forging with sweat, vision, and sacrifice, you see something they don't. You see the family that will be fed, the people who will be freed, the chains that will be broken, the ceiling that will be shattered because you decided to go first. This is what leadership is. Not title, not status, not image. It is sacrifice in silence for impact in eternity. You carry that weight not because it's easy, but because you can. And now you do it not out of duty, but out of destiny. So this is your vow burned into your mind, sealed into your bones. No more half steps. No more waiting to be chosen. No more settling for maybe. No more apologizing for the fire inside. From here forward, everything you do reflects who you've become. Not a person in pursuit of greatness, but the living proof of it. So let your actions roar. Let your standards speak louder than your status. Let your discipline echo through generations. Because you are no longer just a person trying to succeed. You are a leader, reshaping the world through the way you live. And that changes everything. And if they ask where it started, this shift, this rise, this transformation they now see in your eyes, you won't point to a stage or a spotlight. You'll point to the silence, to the dark mornings, to the lonely decisions, to the exact moment you looked at the life you were living and said with absolute finality, no more. Because that's where real change begins, not in noise, not in performance, but in resolve. That unshakable moment when you stop hoping life gets easier and decide you'll get stronger. When you stop craving comfort and choose capacity. When you stop fearing judgment and step fully into conviction. This is your real wealth. Not the money, not the metrics, but the man or woman you've become in the furnace of intentional action. You don't need to scream it. You show it in your posture, in your peace, in the intensity behind your calm, in the discipline behind your joy, in the weight your name carries, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. You've now become the kind of person who doesn't need to prove they've changed because your presence proves it. And what's more, your life now becomes permission. Permission for others to rise. Permission for others to dream bigger. Permission for others to believe that greatness isn't inherited, it's engineered. You are the proof, the walking, breathing, unrelenting proof that with vision, with structure, with faith and fire and impenetrable standards, anything can be transformed. You didn't just change your life. You rewrote the rules. You didn't just climb the mountain. You built a new one and showed others how to ascend. And from here on out, no matter how high you go, how far you stretch, how deeply you influence, you will always return to the root truth that made this all possible. You led yourself first. And because of that, you will never be lost again. Because no matter what storms may come, what setbacks may surface, what doubts may whisper, you will stand firm because you know who you are. You are the storm. You are the shift. You are the kind of leader who walks into the fire and builds cathedrals inside it. This is not the end of your journey. This is the birth of the next level. So don't slow down. Don't settle. Don't forget the weight you carry, the fire you bear, the lives you were born to impact. Now, go, lead, live, and never look back. Not with applause, not with a bow, but with a vow, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken because it's already been written into the rhythm of how you breathe, how you move, how you show up from this moment forward. Because this wasn't just a script. It was a mirror. It was a match. It was a mandate. And now that it's been lit inside you, there's only one thing left to do. Lead your life like it's the only one bold enough to break the mold. Because it is. And you are. There's a silent war happening inside you. A war that no one else can see. A war between who you are and who you could become. A war between your highest potential and your lowest self-doubt. And at the center of that war is your thinking. The thoughts you think shape the life you live. Not the job, not the boss, not the economy, not the weather. Your thinking, your mind is the gatekeeper. It either opens the path to greatness or locks you in a prison of mediocrity. And here's the truth. The enemy doesn't need to destroy your life. It only needs to corrupt your thinking. Negative thinking is not just a bad habit, it's a virus. It starts as a whisper, becomes a narrative, then a belief, then a destiny. I'm not enough. It's too late. I always mess things up. These aren't just thoughts, they're weapons. They erode your confidence. They bury your dreams. They make you hesitate when you should move. And over time, you don't even need external resistance. You've become your own obstacle. So today, we burn that script. Today, we write a new mental code. Because success, joy, progress, they don't happen by accident. They happen when you learn to eliminate the thinking that holds you hostage. Not just once, daily, ruthlessly, intentionally. Let me show you how. 10 lessons, not tips, not tricks, lessons. Because if you truly learn them, they will rewire how you see the world, how you speak to yourself, how you rise in the morning and how you rest at night. You'll stop being at the mercy of your thoughts and start becoming the master of them. Lesson 1, learn to observe your thoughts without judgment. Most people think that every thought they have is true, that just because they thought it, it must mean something. But the mind is not a pure machine. It's influenced by fear, by past experiences, by culture, by the voices of people who had no right to define you. Your mind is full of echoes, not facts. And until you learn to observe your thoughts, you will believe every one of them. To eliminate negative thinking, you must become the watcher, not the reactor. You must learn to sit with a thought, hold it in your mental palm and ask, where did you come from? Are you helping me or hurting me? Just because a thought visits doesn't mean it deserves a room. Train your awareness. Build that inner pause. That's how you reclaim control. Lesson 2, learn the language of your mind. Words are the programming language of the brain. What you say to yourself in silence becomes your script in action. If you constantly say, I can't, your brain doesn't argue, it obeys. If you say, I'm not good with people, guess what? You become awkward and withdrawn because your mind follows your command. You don't need fake positivity, but you do need conscious language. Replace I'm always messing up with I'm learning quickly. Replace this is too hard with this is teaching me strength. Speak as if your words are carving your reality because they are. Learn the power of verbal alignment. Lesson 3, learn to starve the negativity you feed daily. You don't just think negatively, you consume it. The people you follow, the news you absorb, the conversations you tolerate, the inner critic you entertain. Negativity is not just in your thoughts, it's in your environment. If you keep eating junk food, your body breaks down. If you keep feeding your mind junk input, your belief system breaks down. Audit your mental diet. Cut the sarcasm, the gossip, the comparison. Surround yourself with strength, not sympathy. Input determines output, so be ruthless about what you allow in. Lesson 4, learn the power of questions. The mind is a question-answering machine. Ask a weak question like, why am I such a failure? And your mind will gladly provide reasons. Ask a powerful question like, what's one thing I can do better today? And suddenly, your brain shifts from sabotage to solution. Negative thinkers ask questions that shrink them. Leaders ask questions that grow them. Ask yourself daily, what am I grateful for? What am I capable of? What can I do today that my future self will thank me for? The quality of your life is the quality of the questions you ask consistently. Lesson 5, learn to separate emotion from identity. Just because you feel fear doesn't mean you are a coward. Just because you feel doubt doesn't mean you're incapable. Emotion is an experience, not a definition. But most people confuse the two. They say, I'm anxious, instead of saying, I'm experiencing anxiety. One locks you in, the other gives you power. Start saying, I'm noticing that I feel overwhelmed, but I am not my overwhelm. Feel the emotion, Acknowledge it, but never wear it as your name tag. Your emotions are messengers, not masters. Learn to hear them without obeying them. Lesson 6. Learn to interrupt the pattern. Negative thinking is not random, it's patterned. You wake up and think the same thoughts you thought yesterday. You look in the mirror, feel the same insecurities. You start something new, and the same doubts creep in. That's not coincidence, that's habit. To eliminate negative thought loops, you have to break the rhythm. When the thought shows up, say stop, stand up, move your body, speak out loud, change your posture, change your breath, change your scenery. Change interrupts the script, and every interruption weakens the loop. The faster you catch it, the less power it holds. Lesson 7. Learn the difference between reflection and rumination. Self-reflection is powerful. It brings growth. It helps you analyze, learn, and improve. But rumination is destructive. It's when you replay the same mistake again and again, not to learn, but to punish yourself. It's when you water the seeds of guilt and watch them become weeds of regret. The key difference is intent. Are you reflecting to get better or ruminating to stay bitter? Are you using the past to rise or to justify why you can't? Learn to cut the cord on toxic reflection. Learn to say, I've felt it, I've learned, and now I release it. Growth is not in the replay, it's in the release. Lesson 8. Learn that energy is a choice. Negative thoughts love low energy. They thrive when you're tired, sedentary, and passive. But your physiology is a weapon. Your movement, your breath, your tone, they all signal to your brain what state you're in. Want to eliminate negativity? Move. Lift your chest. Breathe deeper. Speak with intention. Train. Stretch. Run. Dance. The body is the shortcut to the mind. You don't think your way into energy. You move your way into clarity. When your energy changes, your thoughts follow. Lesson 9. Learn to create instead of react. The reactive mind is always on defense. What if they don't like me? What if I fail? What if this goes wrong? But the creative mind is on offense. It says, what can I build today? What can I shape from this chaos? What's one small win I can create? You're not here to constantly react to life. You're here to craft it, to shape it like an artist shapes clay, to mold the day, not just survive it. When your focus is creation, your mind has no room for destruction. Trade passive worry for purposeful creation. Lesson 10. Learn to forgive yourself fully. Negative thinking often finds its roots in unresolved guilt, in shame, in the silent belief that you're not worthy of happiness because of who you were or what you did. And here's the truth. Most never say out loud, if you do not forgive yourself, you will forever sabotage your future to punish your past. Forgiveness doesn't mean you condone it. It means you release the hold it has over you. It means you say, I did the best I could with the awareness I had, and now I choose better. Every day you refuse to forgive yourself, you feed the story that you're broken. But you're not broken. You're building. Forgive. Learn. Grow. Now pause. Breathe. These aren't just lessons. They are transformations. Each one is a door out of your mental prison. And if you walk through them not once, but daily, you'll notice something miraculous. Your thoughts begin to serve you instead of sabotage you. Your energy starts to rise. Your confidence grows. And slowly, your reality begins to reflect a new pattern, a pattern of power. You were not born to live with chains around your thoughts. You were not created to suffer under the weight of self-doubt and mental noise. You were made to lead yourself and then lead others. But you can't lead with a mind full of poison. So clear it, train it, elevate it. The world will try to define you by your failures, your flaws, your fears. But that's not who you are. That's just where you started. And today, you choose differently. You choose strength. You choose mastery. You choose a mind that works for you, not against you. So tell your thoughts who's in charge. and become everything they said you couldn't be. Because here's what they never told you. The most dangerous prison is the one you don't even know you're in. It's built brick by brick from doubts you never challenged, from criticisms you internalized, from voices that weren't yours, but became your beliefs. And you've lived in it for so long that you started decorating it, making it comfortable, calling it normal. But just because it's familiar doesn't mean it's right. And just because it feels safe doesn't mean it's freedom. Freedom starts when you refuse to accept thoughts that belittle your power. It begins when you question the things you've always believed about yourself. It starts the moment you say, no more. No more settling for anxiety as identity. No more living under the dictatorship of fear. No more being at war with your own mind. Because you were not made to survive in darkness. You were made to walk in light. And if you truly understood who you are, what you are capable of, you wouldn't waste another second rehearsing pain that no longer serves you. Listen to me. You are not your past. You are not your patterns. You are not your lowest moment, your worst mistake, your loudest doubt. You are potential in motion. You are discipline waiting to be awakened. You are resilience wearing a human face. You are greatness that has been lied to but not destroyed. And everything you need to rise already lives inside you. The courage, it's there. The clarity, it's waiting. The breakthrough, it's behind one more choice. So stop arguing for your limitations. Stop defending your doubt. Stop holding hands with the very thoughts that have held you back. There is no room for guilt in growth. There is no room for shame in transformation. There is no room for fear where purpose lives. You don't need to wait to be ready. You need to decide. Decide to speak differently, to walk differently, to show up with the mindset of someone who belongs in the room, not someone who snuck in through the back door. Decide to carry yourself like someone who has seen darkness and chose to become the light. Because the greatest power you'll ever access is not inspiration. It's not talent. It's not even motivation. It's choice. You choose what thoughts you entertain. You choose what emotions you nurture. You choose what vision you hold. And when your choices are aligned with your vision, the noise fades and your inner world becomes unshakable. So choose the higher thought. Choose the clearer path. Choose to lead your mind instead of being led by it. And when the doubt comes back, because it will, you don't run. You stand taller, you breathe deeper. You speak louder. You say, I've met you before, but I'm not who I used to be. That's the difference. That's what separates those who live limited by their past from those who lead with vision. The ones who rise don't rise because the storm stopped. They rise because they became the storm. Because they stopped waiting for the world to validate them and decided to validate themselves. Because they built a new identity one thought at a time. And that identity, once forged, is unstoppable. So here's the final truth. Eliminating negative thinking isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming present. Present to your power. Present to your purpose. Present to your ability to rewrite the story in real time. Right here. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not when things are easier. Not when people believe in you. Now. Because every second you delay is a second stolen by the lesser version of you. And that version, the scared one, the passive one, the doubtful one, has run your life long enough. So, close the chapter. Write the new one. And this time, let it be bold. Let it be disciplined. Let it be filled with gratitude and drive and quiet confidence that says, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And you, yes, you are about to become unstoppable. Because the moment you eliminate the thoughts that tear you down, you begin building a life that lifts you up. And the world, it won't even recognize you 6 months from now. But you will, because you'll know it wasn't luck. It wasn't magic. It was you choosing higher every single day. And that's how you win. Not just once, but for a lifetime. Most people think education ends when school does. That once you've walked across a stage in a black robe, collected a paper with your name on it, and taken a photo with a forced smile, you've made it. But that belief is the first illusion that keeps millions stuck. Because education, real education, doesn't begin with a diploma. It begins with awakening. The moment you realize your mind is a field, and every day, whether you like it or not, something is being planted. The only question is, who's doing the planting? You or the world? Because if you're not the gardener of your own mind, weeds will grow. Default beliefs, lazy narratives, recycled thinking from people who quit on their own dreams and want you to do the same. That's the tragedy of most lives. They are lived on autopilot, running outdated programs, filled with borrowed opinions, and never once questioned. But education, true education, it's rebellion, it's clarity, it's choosing to break the loop and build something intentional in its place. Education is not information, it's not trivia, it's not data. Education is transformation. It's the fire that melts ignorance into insight, that reshapes identity, that cracks open the ceiling of I can't, and replaces it with watch me. Education isn't about what you know. It's about who you're becoming because of what you now understand. And that understanding, it's not passive. It's earned, not through memorization, but through sweat, through questions, through pain, through practice. You don't receive education. You forge it. That's why the truly educated never stop learning, because they're not chasing facts. They're chasing freedom. The power to choose your thoughts. The clarity to see through lies. The courage to act when the world sleeps. The wisdom to say no when everyone else says yes. The humility to grow. And the discipline to apply. That's the education that changes you. Not the kind stamped on paper, the kind carved into character. So, if you think learning ends when class ends, you're already behind. The world is moving, with or without you. Every day there are new ideas, new tools, new patterns, new shifts. And the people who rise, they are not always the smartest, but they are always the most willing to keep learning. Because the truth is, in today's world, ignorance is a choice. We are surrounded by more knowledge, more access, more opportunity than any generation before us. Yet people scroll past their own future like it's entertainment. They binge noise and neglect nourishment. They chase gossip and miss greatness. They say learning is boring, but live a life they don't love. And that's why education will surprise you, because it doesn't always look like school. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like service. Sometimes it looks like struggle. But if you stay open, everything teaches you. The pain, the failure, the conflict, the chaos, the waiting, the losing, the long road no one claps for. All of it is education. So why do so few commit to it? Because real education doesn't flatter you. It confronts you. It calls out your laziness. It exposes your lies. It makes you look in the mirror and ask, am I still thinking like the person I was 5 years ago? Because if the answer is yes, then you're not educated. You're rehearsed. And there's a difference. Education doesn't just fill your mind, it stretches it. It demands you sit with discomfort long enough to discover your limits and then crush them. Most people don't grow because they don't like how growth feels. It's slow. It's humbling. It strips away your ego layer by layer. It says, you don't know enough. It says, you've got work to do. It says, you're not ready yet. But if you stay in that room of resistance, day after day, something magical happens. You become dangerous. Not because you know more trivia, but because you see deeper. You move sharper. You speak slower. You think clearer. And suddenly, the things that used to intimidate you, silence you, control you, now bow to the presence of someone who's become through education. Because here's the truth. Nobody says enough. If you don't educate yourself, the world will do it for you, and it doesn't care about your potential. It will teach you to fear, to conform, to settle, to follow, to trade your fire for comfort, your vision for approval, your uniqueness for acceptance. But the moment you take responsibility for your own education, the moment you stop waiting to be taught and start choosing to learn, that's when you take your power back. Because knowledge unlocks, it opens the next room, the next strategy, the next solution. It reveals the system behind the system, the truth behind the noise. And when you combine that knowledge with action, you're not just educated, you're equipped. Now you can build. Now you can serve. Now you can rise without asking for permission. Because you understand what's really going on, and you can move accordingly. That's why education is the great equalizer. It's not reserved for the elite. It's not sold in a classroom. It's accessed through intentional curiosity and relentless commitment. So no, education isn't about impressing people. It's about becoming someone you can trust. So what does it look like to truly be educated? It looks like discipline without needing deadlines. It looks like asking better questions instead of chasing louder answers. It looks like reading books no one assigned. It looks like reflecting when others are reacting. It looks like staying curious when the world gets cynical. It's waking up every day with one question on your mind. How can I think more clearly, act more wisely, serve more powerfully? Because real education doesn't just teach you what to think. It trains you how to think, how to see the difference between noise and signal, between hype and truth, between fast comfort and long-term freedom. It helps you spot manipulation in marketing, laziness in leadership, and weakness hiding inside loud opinions. And it doesn't stop. Not when you get the degree, not when you land the job, not when you make your first million, because education is not a phase, it's a posture. It's the way you walk through life. Humble enough to admit you don't know everything. Hungry enough to pursue what you don't understand. Smart enough to stay teachable. Strong enough to apply what you've learned. And here's where it gets real. Education doesn't always come from a teacher. Sometimes your greatest education comes from pain, from the people who betrayed you, from the dreams that didn't work out, from the moments you broke and no one noticed. Those are classrooms too. And if you're brave enough to ask, what is this here to teach me? You will graduate from experiences that once crushed you. Because wisdom isn't given, it's earned. Through fire, through silence, through falling and refusing to stay down. So if you're serious about changing your life, stop waiting for someone to hand you the keys. Go build the keys. Learn what they won't teach in school. How to manage your time, how to master your emotions, how to build wealth, how to speak with impact, how to listen deeply, how to think originally, how to unlearn what's holding you back. That's the curriculum that matters. And it's available if you'll demand more from yourself than the world expects from you. Because the truth is, education is not the path to a better life. It is the life. The moment you stop learning is the moment you start decaying. So don't let the fire go out. Feed it. Study your mentors. Reflect on your mistakes. Read. Practice. Ask. Build. And repeat. Every single day. And now, we arrive at the part no one talks about, the reason education truly matters. Not because it gets you more money, more applause, more achievements. Those are side effects. Nice, yes, but not the core. The real reason is this. Education gives you back to yourself. Every hour you invest in learning, real learning clears away a little more of the fog, the doubt, the noise, the shame, the confusion. And what's left behind isn't just a smarter person. It's a truer person. A person who no longer needs to perform for acceptance. A person who no longer chases validation. A person who walks into rooms quietly and still commands them. Because they know, because they've built, because they've earned who they are. That's why this matters. Because there are people out there right now being paid more than you, heard more than you, seen more than you, not because they're more worthy, but because they learned faster. They took responsibility sooner. They read while others slept. They practiced while others complained. They got up when others sat down. And you can too. That's the surprise in all of this. That education isn't reserved for the privileged, it's activated by the hungry. Not the smartest, not the loudest, but the ones who choose to stay curious when it would be easier to stay comfortable. The ones who'd rather ask, why not me? Instead of, why is it so hard? The ones who don't chase shortcuts, they chase substance. So the next time you feel behind, overwhelmed, underqualified, remember this. You don't need to fix everything today. You just need to learn one thing better. Think one layer deeper. Move one level higher. Because education is a staircase that never ends, and the only thing that separates the powerful from the passive is this. One keeps climbing. You want confidence? Learn. You want wealth? Learn. You want to speak, lead, build, grow, shift, serve, shine? Learn. Because education is the only investment that can never be stolen, never be taxed, never be lost. And the more you have of it, the more you become. So never again say, I'm not smart enough. Say, I'm not done yet. Never again say, I'm not like them. Say, I haven't learned what they've learned yet. Never again hide behind the excuse of background, of failure, of time. Because the school is always open. The only question is, will you show up? Because if you do, if you show up again and again, with your heart open and your ego silent, you won't just surprise others with what you learn. You'll surprise yourself with who you become. And that is the importance of education.